we push this out. And it's one thing for, somebody around the internet to see this and it get put out there, yada, yada, yada. But now a couple of things has happened. Number one, this clip was put out by USA Basketball themselves.
Team USA Basketball went ahead and posted this clip themselves, not some random fan page or clickbait account trying to stir up drama. The official Team USA Basketball social media handlers picked out this exact moment of Paige Bueckers stuffing Caitlin Clark's shot attempt and blasted it out to their massive following. And if you're thinking this was just some innocent highlight share, you clearly haven't been tracking how women's basketball politics work when the cameras aren't rolling.
You trying to tell me USA Basketball doesn't have agenda? It shined through loud and proud when Diana Taurasi made the Olympic team. And Caitlin Clark didn't. Diana Taurasi proceeded to be somebody that was holding the bench down. At the end of the bench, not even able to play. Too old, too tired. Nah.
So let's talk about Diana Taurasi, somehow landing on that 2024 Olympic squad while Caitlin Clark watched from home. Taurasi spent most of her time in Paris, glued to the bench, way too worn down to make any real impact, while the squad that claimed they needed seasoned veterans could have really used the player who just demolished every NCAA scoring record and was breaking the internet with WNBA highlights. That choice made zero sense from a pure basketball standpoint, but it all clicks into place once you figure out exactly who's pulling the strings on these roster selections. Sue Bird, Gino Auriemma, that whole UConn power structure that's been calling the shots in USA Basketball for more than 20 years.
The Angel Reese fans, the Paige Bueckers fans, they wet themselves, right? Eesh. That's not something you want to think about. And it's one thing for the most horrible place known to man, called social media, to try to take victory laps with this. I mean, okay, you sort of expect that out of the worst of the worst. Do you not? Question mark? But it's another thing.
Paige fits perfectly into that same mold as Sue Bird. That's not me guessing. That's what we can see happening right in front of us. And right now, we're watching the propaganda machine start spinning up to set the stage for what's coming down the pipeline. USA Basketball drops the clip, the reactions pour in, the storyline gets locked in place months ahead of time. And boom, when they're putting together rosters for the 2026 World Cup or the 2028 Olympics, there's already this whole foundation built up for why Paige earned her spot over Caitlin.
For sports, WNBA insider Annie Costabile was among the media members present at Team USA training camp, and she addressed Clark's defense during the December 15th appearance on the Indy Stars Fever Insider podcast. Quote, her shot is still there. That was one of my leads, but that the shot of hers that we're all so familiar with is still there. Her speed was coming back, which I thought stood out. Obviously, her timing on passing, that was still impressive. Costabile said when I would assume Chloe Peterson asked her what stood out about Clark's Team USA performance.
Check this out. Andrea Carter from Front Office Sports. She's a WNBA insider who was right there at that December 15th Team USA training camp. She made it a point to break down Caitlin's defensive play during her spot on the Indy Stars Fever Insider podcast. She said, and I'm quoting here, her shooting stroke is definitely still there. Her quickness was starting to return. Her court vision and passing were still really impressive. But I think on the defensive end, anyone following Caitlin's development knows that's somewhere she needs to keep growing. Watching her match up against Kelsey Plum and then seeing how she and Paige went at each other, I don't think it's about choosing sides. You're watching how these two players are going to mesh together down the road. Catch that setup right there. Not if they're going to play together, how they're going to mesh together down the road. The writing's already on the wall.
And then seeing her and Paige on each other. I don't think it's a matter of one versus the other. You're watching, kind of evaluating how these two players are going to operate together one day. And I think that was so more exciting than telling. I mean, It's funny. So we're going to take the one thing about Caitlin's game and we're going to go after Caitlin over it. You knew that was going to happen. This was going to happen. We're going to zero in on this one thing after she's been injured. Played 13 games.
But here's what Carter somehow forgot to mention in her defensive breakdown. Caitlin Clark only got through 13 games after coming back from that injury last season. Just 13 games. She couldn't spend her whole offseason grinding defensive drills because she was dealing with rehab protocols. She missed out on training camp prep for building up her stamina because she was managing her comeback timeline carefully. And then she rolls up to this December showcase event, still working through some rust, and all of a sudden her defensive struggles become this talking point that insiders feel they need to dissect on podcasts. But funny thing is, Paige Bueckers has dealt with major injury setbacks throughout her college run, including tearing her ACL and fracturing her tibial plateau. Yet somehow you don't hear that same level of questioning about whether those injuries impacted her lateral movement or defensive awareness. The measuring stick keeps shifting depending on who's being evaluated.
They played like 3 times. Man, delete this. Yeah, this is USA Basketball posting this. I mean, what are they doing? They knew this was gonna be a Caitlin Clark versus haters post, and that the haters were gonna swarm this. To be honest, it's unprofessional that USA Basketball posted this and pointed it out. They knew that was going to get seized on. You're already trying to elevate Paige over Caitlin.
Just scroll through the responses under that USA Basketball post. This is exactly what they were counting on happening. Paige cooked her Clark's completely overrated. Give me Paige over Caitlin every single time. All the doubters flooded in exactly like they planned, and that's the whole strategy right there. USA Basketball didn't share this clip because it showcased incredible defense or some thrilling basketball moment. They dropped it because they knew it would blow up the timeline, cement a particular storyline, and hand more talking points to everyone who's been trying to tear down Caitlin Clark since she joined the league. This is how you manufacture perception in real time. You plant the seed early, let it grow on social media for months, then reference it later as proof when you make roster moves that were already locked in behind closed doors.
That the haters were going to seize on this. Honestly. Please, someone please gift that. I can already hear the CC fans coming. See, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They knew. Cooked CC. Shout out to USA Basketball for giving us the content we wanted.
The UConn power structure doesn't even try to hide this stuff. Gino Auriemma was already hyping up Paige Bueckers before she'd even stepped foot on a WNBA court. Sue Bird has been positioned as the voice of USA Basketball choices for years now. And you've got media voices like Carter shaping discussions around Caitlin's defensive gaps while presenting Paige as the obvious pick for upcoming rosters. This is exactly how the machine operates in women's basketball. It's not really about who's dominating at the pro level right now. It's about who aligns with the preferred storyline and has connections with the decision makers.
Agenda. Propaganda. Tell me what you think. It is Caitlin Clark fans against everyone all over again. Here we go. It's not even 2026 yet.
And so it starts. Peace out, but let's get to the heart of what's really happening here. Caitlin Clark brought attention to women's basketball that nobody had seen before. She packed arenas to capacity. She delivered TV numbers that the WNBA hadn't touched in years. She got regular sports fans invested in women's college basketball, and then brought all that energy with her into her first professional season. And after all that impact, after all that cultural shift, she got passed over for the Olympic roster so Diana Taurasi could ride the bench. Now we're seeing the exact same playbook unfold again. USA Basketball shares clips designed to boost Paige and put Caitlin under the microscope. Media insiders zero in on Caitlin's defensive struggles while ignoring the context around injury, comebacks, and shortened prep periods. The UConn network keeps wielding influence over roster construction at the top levels of international basketball, and the most maddening part of all this is that Caitlin Clark has zero control over any of it. She can't dictate what USA Basketball puts on their social feed. She can't control how media analysts frame their podcast conversations. She can't override the preferences of the people making roster calls. All she can do is keep playing elite basketball and hope that eventually talent wins out over politics. But if you followed women's basketball for any amount of time, you already know how this ends. The UConn network protects their people. Sue Bird's voice carries massive influence. Gino Auriemma's thoughts shape decision makers, and players like Caitlin Clark, who developed outside that pipeline, who didn't suit up for the preferred college program or build relationships with the right power players, they've got to grind twice as hard for half the credit. That clip USA Basketball posted had nothing to do with highlighting solid defense. It was all about setting up a storyline, and that storyline is going to shadow Caitlin Clark through the entire next Olympic cycle, no matter how well she performs or how much her defense develop, because in women's basketball, the agenda usually beats out actual accomplishment. Keep your eyes open over the next year and a half, leading up to the 2026 World Cup. Pay attention to how media coverage presents the Paige versus Caitlin narrative. Notice which players get spotlighted in USA Basketball's promotional material. See who gets the benefit of the doubt when roster announcements come down, and then decide for yourself whether those choices are really about assembling the strongest possible team, or whether they're about keeping control and taking care of system loyalists. Caitlin Clark's going to stay focused on what she does best. She's going to put work into her defensive game. She's going to keep leading her team. She's going to post numbers that make her impact impossible to deny. But is that going to be enough to beat the institutional favoritism that's been running women's basketball for decades? Looking at what we've already witnessed, I seriously doubt it. So here's what I want to know from you. If Paige Bueckers lands on that 2026 World Cup roster ahead of Caitlin Clark, even though Caitlin's putting up better pro numbers and making a bigger impact on the league, are you going to buy the explanation that it was strictly about basketball, or are you going to see it for what it really is? Just another chapter in a pattern that's been crystal clear ever since they announced that Olympic team without the player who just revolutionized women's basketball's mainstream appeal. Let me know what you think in the comments. Smash that subscribe button, and let's keep tracking how this unfolds, because I promise you, this saga is nowhere near finished.